Question coming in, can vitamin B12 deficiency cause burning feet? It absolutely can. Chantel, it's one of the side effects of B12 deficiency is something called a neuropathy. Although burning feet neuropathy is more associated less with B12 and more actually with vitamin B5 deficiency, also known as pantothenate. So burning feet can be B12 deficiency, could also be folate deficiency, could also be B5 deficiency. In my experience, B5 deficiency is a more common cause of burning feet neuropathy. Question about which of your supplements help to detox or help with mercury after amalgam fillings. I would recommend in that regard Ultra Metal Detox. If we can put that up in the feed for you. Happy Thanksgiving from Amelia. Thank you, Amelia. If I have anemia and heavy cycle with low iron and serum B12 at 399, do I still need to look into other causes of anemia? Maybe. I mean, if you've got low iron, depending if they measured pure iron and your iron in your blood is low, not necessarily your ferritin, but your iron, and look at your hemoglobin, look at your hematocrit, look at your MCV and your MCH and MCHC. That's called a complete blood count. You could have, I mean, 399 B12 is not, it's not astronomically low, but it's also not great. But serum B12 markers are not great measures of B12 status. But there could be other causes of anemia that you have, and everybody's entitled to more than one nutritional deficiency. So although it appears that based on what you've said, you might have an iron deficiency as well as a B12 kind of borderline deficiency there, you may also have other causes of anemia. So it's really a good idea to get with a doctor who understands nutrition. Vitamin E deficiency causes anemia. Vitamin C deficiency can cause it. Copper, vitamin B6. There are a lot of different causes of anemia. So you may have some things that are causing it, but if you didn't get a kind of a full comprehensive evaluation, you may be also missing some things. Let's see here. On a grain-free diet for 5 years, why can't I replete vitamin C, E, and B2? Currently borderline values with intracellular testing. Any clues? Lots of clues. I mean, there's three main reasons, one, why a person can develop a deficiency or maintain a deficiency. One is they're just not eating enough nutrients in the food that they're eating. Like the food they're eating doesn't contain enough of the nutrients you're low in to meet your personal need. And that's unique for everyone. I know that we have these recommended daily allowances and kind of generic numbers that you see on food packaging labels that say this is how much of that nutrient you need daily. But those are not individualized at all, so they don't really hold a whole lot of scientific weight, in my opinion. But another reason why you could be deficient is because there's an underlying situation, whether it be underlying stress, whether it be an underlying condition like an inflammatory issue that you're dealing with still, that's causing your body to need more of those nutrients to kind of offset the stress or the underlying inflammation that you're dealing with. And then a third very common reason that we might see nutritional deficiency is other external forces. I see this a lot in people that exercise aggressively, especially athletes. We'll see low antioxidants quite frequently, low vitamin C, low vitamin E, low vitamin A, and other antioxidants, because exercise causes you to burn through more nutrients, especially aggressive exercise. So, I mean, there are a number of reasons why that could be the case. It's hard for me to just generalize and give you an exact, but hopefully that's helpful and gives you some road to kind of navigate down. I like a lot of the comments here. So let's see, what's the best vitamin to help you sleep and to stay asleep? There are a lot of vitamins that might help with that. I'd say supplementally, the best vitamin in the world to help you sleep and stay asleep is getting sunshine between 9 and 11, 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. because that's when you make solid melatonin. Melatonin puts you to sleep and keeps you asleep. Some people will supplement with melatonin. And you can certainly do that, but getting melatonin is, in my opinion, just as important. It's more important, actually. Let's see, Adrian says, I made my first appointment with you in December. I'm so excited to see if you can help. I can't wait, Adrian. I'm up for any challenge. I love a challenge. As a matter of fact, I thrive on challenges that people bring to me, so welcome aboard. Let's see here, Dennis. Dr. Osborne, is it true that if you're healthy and you eat a meal, it shouldn't affect your energy, i.e. make you tired or give you energy? No, it's not true, Dennis. Great question, by the way, because this is one of the things that happens, especially at Thanksgiving. So you eat a big, heavy meal. What is the byproduct of digesting your food? So this is not common knowledge, but biochemically speaking, especially if you go carbohydrate heavy, one of the byproducts of carbohydrate digestion is CO2, carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide locks up your red blood cells. So you remember your red blood cells, inside of them, they have hemoglobin molecules, and generally speaking, hemoglobin on your red blood cell carries oxygen, but it can also carry CO2. As a matter of fact, your red blood cells have a greater affinity for CO2 than they do for oxygen. So if you eat super heavy carb, high carb at a meal, and you get, through digestion, you get all this excessive CO2, it's got to come out of you. How does it come out of you? It comes out of you because your red blood cell picks it up and delivers it to your lungs so that you can expel it by breathing out. And so it's not uncommon for excessive carbohydrate production as a result, or excessive carbon dioxide production as a result of carbohydrate consumption, to bog down your red blood cells and prevent you from carrying as much oxygen, therefore making you tired after a meal. So that's one element that can happen. Another with Thanksgiving is the tryptophan in the turkey is a sedative. In a sense, it can help. We use tryptophan a lot as an amino acid to help people with anxiety or to help people sleep better. So it's one that you need tryptophan to produce serotonin, and you need serotonin to make melatonin. And again, this is very important for your circadian cycle, your sleep cycle. One other element that you want to understand, though, is when you eat, all the blood in your body will rush to your GI tract. It rushes away from the brain to the GI tract. Why? You're digesting your food. When you're digesting your food, are you supposed to be exercising? Are you supposed to be thinking super deep thoughts? No, you're supposed to be relaxing and resting and digesting your food. That's why some cultures, like down in Mexico, they take a siesta. If you've ever been to Europe, Italy, Spain, Portugal, they have a very slow lunch and a nap after lunch, right? And why? It's because the cultures are smart and they understand and they recognize that after eating, it's okay to feel tired because your blood rushes away from your brain, away from your muscle, into your GI tract to do the work of digestion. So it's very normal to feel tired after a meal. What's not normal is to feel tired all the time, but even more tired after a meal, but you're tired all the time. Like being tired all the time, that's a sign that something deeper is going on. Angeline is asking about nutritional yeast seasoning as a healthy substitute for cheese and B vitamin supplement for the holiday season. Yeah, I mean, if you're doing it during this season, but you're not doing it as a regular, kind of staple food in your diet, using some nutritional yeast can add palatability and flavor to some of your food. So I wouldn't fault you for using that. How do we prevent winter weight gain? I live in Canada. Simple. You eat well, you exercise well, you sleep well, you breathe clean air, you drink clean water, and you mitigate your stress. No different than when it's in the summer. The biggest issue in the winter months in Canada is long and grueling inside. You've got to figure out an exercise plan that you can accomplish inside. And one of the other things that I would encourage you to do if you're not snowbirding down south for some of the time of your winter, is to get yourself a light that puts out about 10,000 illuminations that emulates the sun, because you can get cabin fever in those long winter months, and that can cause seasonal affective disorder. It can deplete you of serotonin. Serotonin depletion can actually cause issues with weight and cravings, etc. So, but those are the simple strategies you can tap into. I like what Melissa has to say. She says, absolutely not worth eating something wrong. Stay strong. I love that. Yes, stay strong. Could iodine and chase tree berry help with a heavy cycle? Yeah, depending on why you're having a heavy cycle. Again, I see a lot of people that have women that have heavy cycles for a variety of different reasons. Nutritionally, there are a lot of reasons why that could happen, but chase tree berry is one that can be helpful from Vitex agnus. And then iodine certainly can be. It's necessary for estrogen, progesterone regulation. Margie says, I tried several gluten-free pie crust recipes. They were all horrible. I will risk the gluten and have a delicious pumpkin pie. Good luck with that, Margie. Yeah, good luck with that. You might try our pie crust recipe. I can tell you for a fact our warrior bread is something very special and unique. And if you haven't tried it and you haven't tried making pie crust with it, then you're missing out. Yeah, I can see some of you are allergic to almonds. If you're allergic to almonds, you might try mixing tiger nut with tapioca and cassava. Those can also make some pretty good pie crust as well. Let's see here. Can gluten-free heal pancreas and stomach? It depends. If gluten is causing your pancreatic damage and your stomach damage, then going on a gluten-free diet can certainly contribute to that healing process, Michael. I've seen a number of cases where people had chronic pancreatitis, and even cases of acute pancreatitis is caused by gluten, and so changing the diet led to, kind of a remission of those problems. But I don't think we could ever make that claim generalized across the board for everyone. But, what have you got to lose? Because most of the people that are told they have chronic stomach inflammation or gastritis and pancreatitis, they're saying that most doctors will tell you, well, you have it, but we don't know why. Here's some medicine, right? So what do you got to lose? Change your diet. How do you know if you've eaten something that you didn't know had gluten in it, or if you ate something that maybe just didn't agree with you? A good point. I think first of all, knowing what you're eating and being cautious enough to know that there's no gluten in it is the first step to differentiating between the two. If you're kind of careless around what you're eating, then cross-contamination is going to be a regular component of your diet. Remember, cross-contamination of gluten. One breadcrumb can cause inflammation for 2 months. So step one, in my opinion, is just to get really granular and dialed in that know that you're not eating gluten, and that way you can differentiate whether or not another food or another non-gluten food is contributing to your issue. So Melena says, I've gotten to the point where I absolutely will not eat anything I have not prepared for myself. It's hard, but the extra effort is worth it. So that goes back to my question from earlier about O.P.F. Do we have any answers on O.P.F? Okay, so we'll get to that. We're going to pick a winner. A lot of you got it, nailed it. Home run on that one. Let's see here. Yeah, scroll down on both the left and right. Is it true that if you cut an onion and place it in a room where someone is sick, that it absorbs the germs? I know it may sound silly, but I heard this a long time ago and again today. So understand, Robbie, that you're not worried about germs in the way you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be worried about germs. The world is germophobic, and for the wrong reasons. I mean, Louis Pasteur's theory of germ theory of disease is wrong, and we've known that for decades now. So having a fear of germs is the wrong phobia to have. Now, that being said, one should strive for good hygiene. That's very different than having a fear of germs. So, I mean, washing hands is important, as we've all learned in the last 2 years. The only thing that's important, according to our governments, is wash your hands and take your drugs, which is, we all know, is BS. Hopefully, if you've listened to me for any length of time, you know that. But we don't fear germs. If we have good balance, if we have good nutrition, good diet, good exercise, good sleep, good sunshine, then we have good balance. And so we don't fear germs because our body has an immune system that has the capacity to deal with them. We make highly specialized weapons and chemicals against the overgrowth or the overabundance of different types of microorganisms. So what I would encourage you to read more about, Robbie, is something called terrain, the terrain theory of disease versus the germ theory of disease. I think it might help you. You don't need to worry about cutting an onion and leaving it around to absorb the ambient germs in your home. I think that, again, that's an antiquated thought process, and I just want to move you away from that. Where do you recommend to get tested for vitamins? I can't get a doc to send me for that. Jessica, just be patient. I think we're coming up in January. We're going to have that planned out. We've been working on a direct, without a doctor's note, intracellular test for all of you. That's one of my goals in 2022, early 2022, is to introduce that technology to you all so that you can go get it done. So if your doctors won't do it. And John, I would say this too, if you have a doctor that will do it but doesn't understand nutrition, great, more power to you. But where I see a lot of people go wrong with that is they have their doctor do it, and then they take their doctor's advice when the test comes back, but their doctor's not qualified to read the test or understand nutrition or understand what a therapeutic amount of a nutrient looks like or is. So you've still got to be careful. Part of it is getting the test, but the other part of it is where's the information coming from? What do you do as a result of the test coming back? Question on liver. Carolina wants to know, how often should we eat liver per month? I hear it's the best food to eat to get nutrients. You don't have to eat liver a certain quantity of times. I'd say if you like it, eat it on a weekly basis. Put it in your rotation and get some liver in your diet. How realistic are food serving sizes on packages? They vary greatly from what is served in a restaurant. Oh, Jane, I love that question because like for example, most packages contain a serving size that's fit for a microscopic dwarf, meaning it's not realistic for what a human is actually going to eat. You just take that serving size on most packages and you multiply it by 4, and that might actually be what you sat down and ate. So you have to be very careful when you're looking at food labels. If you're trying to look at macronutrients like carbs, fats, proteins, and total calories, because a lot of times you'll overdo it really quickly, not realizing you're overdoing it because they put such a small serving size on a lot of these packages. All right, Mary Ellen says, I ordered your gluten intolerance and sensitivity test. Yay, awesome, Mary, high five. Can't wait for your results to come in, and if they're positive, send you on a great journey toward no grain. What about if you have allergies to peanuts, tree nuts, etc.? What would you recommend? I think that question was in regard to like flour. And so again, flours that I would recommend, I don't know if we could pull this up, Mel, but Solita, maybe we could pull up our gluten-free, grain-free flours article for her. There are a lot of different flours outside of the nut flours that you might be able to use as substitutes for recipes as well. And so we'll share that with you. What could be causing nightly lower leg cramps if a blood magnesium test was normal? Well, depending, Mary Jo, on the blood magnesium test. If it was a blood serum test, then I wouldn't put too much faith in the result. Now, if it was a red blood cell magnesium test, that's a much better and more accurate way to assess magnesium. But a lot of times, nighttime cramping, night leg cramping is oftentimes associated with calcium deficiency. So calcium might be at the core of this. One of the other things that can cause nighttime cramps, if you overconsume caffeine during the day, it's a common trigger of cramps at night. If you're dehydrated, it's a common trigger of nighttime cramps. And so you might, and then also if you're drinking RO water, reverse osmosis water, and you're not adding electrolytes back to it, we'll sometimes see people develop nighttime cramps there. So any of those would be options to explore. So Elizabeth says, I got glutened at a pre-holiday lunch. I took the enzyme. It helped, but I felt the brain fog, exhaustion, mood plummet. Happy I'm detoxed enough to notice, but OMG, don't eat O.P.F. I agree. Don't eat O.P.F., which is what? O.P.F. is other people's food. So many of you got that answer right? Other people's food. Not that we don't love other people, not that we don't want to have camaraderie with other people, especially around the holiday time, but other people don't respect their diets well enough. So we don't want to let them have the selection over the most important thing that we can control to contribute to our health, right? So O.P.F., other people's food. Now, if you come to my house ever, you could probably trust it, but I'm not hosting any kind of mass Thanksgiving parties anytime soon. So let's see here. Make a pie crust from walnuts, cashews, dates, and cinnamon makes the best pie crust. Yeah, that does sound pretty good. Thanks for the tip, Amali. Should we be concerned with antibiotics and hormones in the chicken and turkey? Generally speaking, that practice is banned in chicken and turkey raising. That just because it's banned doesn't mean the farmers are adhering to it, but it's supposed to be. It's one of the reasons why I have my own chickens and my own turkeys, because I have a very strong distrust of the food, medical, media, government complex that is, most intents and purposes feeding us poor food, drugging us with things that don't cure us, giving us messages that are untruthful, and stealing our money through unfair taxation to to promote the companies that poison us and give us drugs to heal us that don't heal us, right? So anyway, crustless pumpkin pie, Mary says, yep, crustless, I think I mentioned that. That's a good one. How much is too much glycine? Depends on whether or not you need glycine. Too much, if you're taking 3 milligrams of glycine, that's actually quite a low amount. It's not very much. Now, if you meant 3,000 milligrams, that would be more of a dose. Is benfotiamine the best form of B1? It's the best fat-soluble form of B1. I mean, thiamine can be water-soluble too. There are different forms of B1, and it's not that it's the best form of B1, it's just that it's the best fat-soluble version. And for some people, water-soluble thiamine is less effective at correcting a beriberi-like situation, and benfotiamine can, in many cases, can work better. Let's see here. Why did God create grains? I don't know. I'm not God, so I certainly can't answer that question, but I can quote Mikhail a section, I can paraphrase a section of Genesis where God kicks Adam and Eve out of the Garden of Eden and says that you shall toil in the fields, and by the sweat of your brow, brambles and thorns shall punish you. Again, I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact phrase, but to me, I'm a pastor, and so part of my background is understanding the Bible, but that can be taken in a lot of different ways. To me, one of the ways is that part of the punishment of humanity is the consumption of grain, the toiling in the fields, and the hard and heavy labor and the work that has to come to grow a food that slowly can deteriorate your health. But I would also say that, if we're talking in a non-biblical sense, it's not necessarily what God even made, it's what man has done to it after the fact. So man has created nitrogen-based fertilizers that increase the gluten content of grains. We've hybridized grains to contain greater degrees of gluten. We've loaded them up with pesticides and other chemicals. We've stored them improperly where they can grow molds and fungus and mycotoxins that can poison us. So I think there are a lot of aspects to grain beyond just the gluten in that can become damaging, even though it's a product that God created. God also created plutonium, which is radioactive and can kill us. So I mean, there are a lot of ways that we could look at it. These are all great questions to ponder. I wish I could give you an exact answer. I just can't. Would Virid help with shingles? So Jean's asking about one of my formulas. It's an immune support formula for people that have viral exposures. Yes, that's actually why we originally designed it, was to support people going through a chicken pox or a shingle issue. I like that. Russ is smart. He says, inflation is taxation without representation. No doubt, my man, you are right on. Pam says, my feet and lower legs sometimes feel cold and take a long time to feel warmed up. I can feel the feet with my hand and find they are not cold. It seems more like this is in my brain instead of low circulation. Is this a nutrient deficiency? Yeah, it could be. You could be having a neuropathy where you have problems with sensation, Pam, and so that oftentimes that can be a B vitamin deficiency. So you might want to get that checked out. I like what Mark says. It says, at first God thought wasps would pollinate the flowers, but then he went with plan B. Good pun. Let's see here. Anything that can help with night sweats during menopause? Several things. Vitex agnus castus, chaste tree can be helpful. For some women, progesterone creams, yam-based progesterone creams can be very helpful. Inositol can sometimes be very helpful. DIM, the supplement DIM. We have something called Ultra DIM. It can also be very helpful. Just a lot of things there that could potentially be good. Let's see here. Are almonds high in oxalates? Mine are quite high. Your oxalate levels are high, not your almond levels, right, Deborah? So if your oxalate levels are high, yes, almonds are a higher oxalate containing food. So if you struggle with with high oxalates or recurring kidney stones, calcium oxalate stones, then using massive quantities of almond flour might not be the best move for you. Go back up just a little bit. So let's see, Bhupinder, how can I get a genetic test kit for gluten sensitivity? Let's put that link up for Bhupinder. You just order it through Gluten Free Society. We offer direct testing without doctors because so many doctors won't do the testing. So that's one of the things that we have had accomplished over the past few years. So you can order that straight through Gluten Free Society. There's a link right at the top of the page that says genetic testing. Let's see here. Go back up just a hair on that. There we go. So Marie says, I made the pumpkin pie recipe with the warrior bread, made the crust thin, and came out yummy. I like that. So thanks for the feedback, Marie. So those of you thinking about a pie crust, there you go. There's an option. So why does there have to be sugar in everything? Good question. You know, sugar is an addictive drug, and more than it is any kind of food. And I think the reason manufacturers put it in the food is to make people want to buy more of it. It creates an addiction. In most cases, sugar feeds a lot of things, and one of the things it feeds is yeast. And so yeast, you know, they take on a life of their own. They can actually send messages to your brain through your vagus nerve to tell you to crave more sugar. And so sugar is just, to me, it's just it's something that if you've got processed sugar in a food item, you should be avoiding it. It's just not good for you. Don't kid yourself. Where can we get an affordable microbiome test? Right now, I would just say avoid any of these. These online microbiome tests they're junk. It's bunk, in my opinion. I get a lot of people that bring those to me in my office, and they offer up very little solution and very viable information that could help you manipulate or change your diet to any great degree where you would have any kind of improvement. I'm not a fan of these tests at all. There are a lot of docs online that are pushing these tests. You know, I just don't agree. And I've just seen those tests fail time and time again. We've actually sent out blinded samples of the same person's sample, different names. And we get these tests back and they're very different. They don't yield a consistent result on the same sample. And so if it can't give you consistent accuracy, how can you trust it to make any decisions about your diet or lifestyle? Okay. What do you feed your poultry? So my poultry, we feed them an organic soy and corn-free mix. Remember, chickens. This is an area of confusion that a lot of people are stuck in. Chickens eat grain. Birds can eat grain. They eat seeds. Their GI tracts can handle it. They can process it. They can digest it. But they don't just eat grain. So you want to have a variety for your birds, in my opinion. And so for our chickens, we do supplement with organic corn and soy-free some grains, but we also feed them mealworms. They graze all day long. So they're out on pasture all day long. And so just depending on where you live, you might supplementally feed them more in winter months versus summer months. I'm in South Texas, so we have grass all year round, so we don't have to use heavy feed for them. But you can also feed them flax and other seeds, so chickens can do well with a lot of different things. But in my opinion, it's more important that they graze to get the vast majority of their daily diet. Best sugar substitutes: maple, honey, manuka honey, stevia if your gut tolerates it well, monk fruit if your gut tolerates it well. A lot of different options there. Xylitol, birchwood xylitol if your gut tolerates it well. All good sugar substitutes. How much coffee is too much? Depends on the person. My advice is don't drink more than a cup a day. That's 120 milligrams of caffeine, generally speaking. It's a diuretic. It will deplete you of minerals. It will deplete you of B vitamins. It's not that coffee is necessarily bad or evil. It's just that just like all things, in moderation for the most part. But most people overdo it. They do the whole pitcher. I asked a patient one time. She says, "I only drink 1 cup a day." I said, how big's the cup? And she's like, holding her hands out like this, right? So she's drinking 72-ounce stop and go mug that she refills. That's not a cup. That's like 8 cups. So be realistic when you're measuring. A cup is, generally speaking, is 6 ounces if you're talking about a cup of coffee. My husband drinks coffee. I know there are mycotoxins in grocery store bought coffee. Are there mycotoxins in organic beans too? Yes. And so this is why when you pick a company that is selling you coffee, you not only want that coffee to be organic, but you want them to have a track record where they actually measure for mycotoxins. Robbie, we list 2 different brands on our website at Gluten Free Society. Both those companies do a great job. Of testing for mycotoxins, and that's why we recommend those brands. Okay, they should, or you, okay. Yeah, Christina's commenting, our food today is not what it was years ago. It's not. I mean, the testing, especially on nutrient density, the nutrient density on a lot of our food is lower than what it was years ago, so no doubt about that. Food just isn't what it used to be. Let's see. I think we covered. This has got to be a first. I think we hit pretty much all the questions that at least that I saw go through there. Maybe we'll scroll back through. So we need to pick a winner for our competition as well. I'm actually going to let my team do that. I don't want to pick that winner and be biased. So Mel, I'll let you pick the winner. You guys don't ever get to see Mel, but Mel's the guy. He makes all the magic happen on the back end. So you maybe to show him some love tonight, give him some thumbs ups or hearts. He's the guy that has the different camera angles and makes things look so good for us. So Mel and Bobby on the backside, who does all these wonderful graphics for our slideshows for you, are part of our team. So props to these guys. So let's see.
Mia Borsuk on Facebook.
So we got the winner of our Gluten-Free Warrior shirt is Mia Borsuk. So Mia, if you're listening, reach out to Jessica at glutenology@gmail.com, glutenology@gmail.com, and give her your information. Give her your information, and we're going to get you sized up for a shirt and get you set up for the holidays so you can approach and get there and be a warrior through the holidays. So, all right. So I think that's a wrap for tonight. I think I'm going to go home and eat dinner. It's been a long day. I really appreciate you guys always spending Monday nights with me. I love your interaction. Love you all. Wish you a fantastic Thanksgiving. Keep your head and your wits about you. We live in a strange time. We live in a time where food is poison and poison is food. And we live in a time where up is down is up, and sickness is health and health is sickness, right? So keep your head about you, keep your wits about you. If you ever doubt the sanity of the world, don't hesitate to come back and visit me on Monday nights for your extra good dose of sanity. And remember, if you're not subscribed, get subscribed. We're actually getting ready to change platforms. We're going to be hosting, and we're going to be only answering questions and answers on our own platform. So we're moving away from censorship. You'll still be able to watch our archives on YouTube, on Facebook, as long as they don't cancel me, but we don't know when that's going to happen. We can't control what they do, but we can control what we do at our own house. So go to glutenfreesociety.org. Make sure you sign up for my newsletter if you don't want my information censored from your inbox. Get on that list so that we can send you the correct links in the future as we move our platform over to Gluten Free Society, where we can interact and we can communicate without the fear of reciprocity, of punishment for speaking truth. And so if you want to really hear Dr. Osborne raw, unfiltered, you're going to want to make sure that you come join me on that platform, which that's going to be coming to you as well in 2022. So love you guys. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you next Monday. Hey, if you've got a functional medicine or health question that you'd like me to answer for you, make sure you send me an email, glutenology@gmail.com, and we'll do our best to create a video answer just for you. Have a great day.